May 1940. 400,000 men are trapped. The ocean is at their backs. In front of them, the deadliest war machine in history. The German Ghost Division.
There is no escape. They are going to be eliminated.
Hitler's tanks sliced through France like a scythe. The Allies were cut off. The sky rained fire. The beaches became a graveyard. Every second, the German army got closer. The British Empire was on its knees.
The German generals shouted, "Push! Finish them!" Victory was hours away.
The British threw away their guns. They waited for the end.
10 miles. That's all the Germans needed. Just one final strike.
But then, something impossible happened. The tanks stopped.
Inside the tanks, the Germans were furious. They had the enemy. Why stop now?
Hitler sent the order personally.
Halt!
He was afraid of the terrain.
Flanders was a swamp. Hitler feared his precious Panzer tanks would sink in the mud.
The British looked up. The guns were silent. It felt like a miracle.
But it wasn't mercy. The Luftwaffe arrived to finish the job from the sky.
The tanks stopped, but the bombs started falling. The beach became hell.
There was no cover, just sand and fire. Men were hunted like animals.
Yet, this was Hitler's fatal mistake. The halt gave the British 48 hours to breathe.
London made a choice. Operation Dynamo. Evacuate everyone, now!
But looking at the sea, they saw nothing. How do you save 400,000 men without ships?
Then, the horizon changed. They didn't send the Navy. They sent everyone.
Fathers, sons, fishermen. They sailed into the war zone, unarmed. The Mosquito fleet. 800 tiny boats charging at the German army.
On the beach, the soldiers cheered.
Help had arrived.
But the Germans were waiting.
The Luftwaffe attacked. Wooden boats against steel bombs. It was a slaughter.
Many didn't make it, but they kept coming, picking up men one by one.
They ferried soldiers from the shallows to the big ships. A human chain of courage.
50,000 men saved. But the beach was still packed. Time was running out.
The little ships were too slow. To save the army, they needed destroyers. And there was only one place to dock.
The East Mole. A narrow wooden trap. And the German bombers knew exactly where it was. The East Mole. A narrow wooden plank into the deep sea. It was the only way out. Big ships docked here. But a stationary ship is a sitting duck.
Bombs smashed the pier. Men were blown into the freezing oil-filled water.
While they loaded the ships, the defensive line on land was breaking. On the outskirts, the rearguard fought like demons, buying time with their blood.
The Germans were too strong. They were street by street, room by room.
The pause was over. The tanks were coming to crush everyone left on the beach.
Nothing could stop them now. The evacuation had to end immediately.
The British were leaving. But someone had to stay behind to die. The French. The French held the line until the very last minute. They bought freedom with their lives.
Finally, the German tanks broke through.
The path to the ocean was open.
They were too late. The last ship had vanished into the mist.
But when they looked around, they were shocked. No prisoners. Just junk.
The British army had vanished. Hitler had let 300,000 men slip away.
Back in England, they were hailed as heroes. A miracle deliverance.
338,000 men. The Miracle of Dunkirk.
But Winston Churchill was terrified. Wars are not won by evacuations.
They saved the men, but they lost the guns. England was now completely defenseless.
Hitler ordered the invasion. Operation Sea Lion. 100,000 men ready to cross. He could see the white cliffs of Dover. Victory was right there, waiting.
But the Royal Navy stood in the way. Hitler needed the sky first. He sent the Luftwaffe, 2,000 aircraft against a tiny island.
Britain scrambled everything. Spitfires, hurricanes. The fate of the world rested on them.
They were outnumbered 3-1. Dogfights raged over London.
But England had a secret weapon. Radar. They could see in the dark.
The Luftwaffe began to bleed. For the first time, Hitler was losing planes.
But the British had a fatal problem. They were running out of pilots.
The plan was working. British airfields were burning. The RAF was on its knees.
If the Germans kept attacking the bases, England would lose in days.
Then, a mistake changed history. One German pilot got lost in the dark. Churchill struck back immediately. RAF bombers flew to Berlin.
He made a fatal change. Stop bombing the airfields. Bomb the city.
The Blitz began. 57 consecutive nights of fire. London became a furnace. People lived in subway tunnels. It was hell.
But at the airfields, silence. The pilots looked up. The pressure was gone.
The airfields were fixed. The pilots were rested. The trap was set.
The Germans returned. They thought the RAF was dead. They were wrong.
Out of the sun came the Spitfires, hundreds of them. The sky exploded.
It was a slaughter. The German bombers fell like autumn leaves.
Hitler had lost the sky. He cancelled the invasion. England was safe. He saved his tanks at Dunkirk for a reason. Not for England.
He needed them for the war he always wanted. The war in the East.
Operation Barbarossa. The invasion of the Soviet Union. The largest attack in history.
But by sparing the British, he left a knife in his back. And in front of him was a monster.
But Russia fought back with a weapon Hitler forgot. General Winter.
The tanks he saved at Dunkirk? They froze. Useless blocks of steel.
Millions of German soldiers died in the snow. The best troops were gone.
Then the trap snapped shut. The British were still alive in the West. They returned, not with little ships, but with heavy bombers. Thousands of them.
They burned German cities to ash. The war had come home.
England stood alone against the monster. A tiny island that refused to die.
Today, the beach is quiet, but the sand remembers the blood.
We remember the little ships. We remember the French who stayed behind.
And we remember Hitler's mistake, the arrogance that lost him the war.
It was the greatest escape in human history. A miracle forged in fire.
But history warns us. Tyrants always make mistakes. The question is, will we be ready next time?
Peace is fragile. It is bought with blood. And it can be lost in a second.
The Miracle of Dunkirk proved one thing. As long as there is hope, there is no defeat.
But darkness is always waiting. We must keep the memory alive.